Welcome to episode 50 of the What If South is Up podcast, where we dive into the arts of world building and storytelling with a what if lens. Together, we explore, dissect, and expand the speculative and fantasy worlds of our own making. Blending a bit of wisdom and a dash of whimsy, we aim to spark creativity for ourselves and for you. Get ready to reimagine and dig deeper as we journey from what if to what's possible. In other words, how to wing it like an author. My name is Christina Eckstein LaFave, and I'm in the middle of building my world, my first world called Cobb, a magical parallel Earth where colonization never happened in the Americas. I'm an aspiring author and yet unpublished. And my current world building challenge is just basics, how to get the friggin' world onto the frackin' page. I mean, my co-host has done it, and our other co-host has done it. I'll get it done too. And here to listen to me whine and moan and to play along with our game is my ever stand by my side co-host mate Derrick Hall.
Everybody, I am, as previously mentioned, Derrick Hall, creator of the world of Ketra, which serves as home to a young adult sword and sorcery series titled Crimson Prophecy. And my issue has been figuring out how to write a post-apocalyptic world from a less than overdone perspective, because it's seriously been overdone.
Yes, it's been well done. It's well done. I mean, not done well. I mean, it's like cooked meat, well done.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's overcooked. But I think I managed, so that's cool. To kick things off, and before we see which what-if question Chance brings up, let's do a potion or maybe elixir check. Xtina, what are you drinking today, and what's going on in your real world?
Straight from Elixia's most frequented pub called the Ice Akalak. That's the pub, not the drink. I'm drinking a sunset martini. And as for what's going on in my real world, I just got back from a 2-week vacation in Albuquerque, where I was looking for a neighborhood for a future move from this great white north that I currently live in. What about you, Mr. Derrick?
Well, speaking of the Great White North, I'm dealing with that right now. I'm just going to start with the real world. It is below zero outside. It has been for most of the day, and yeah, it's cold. It's cold. I would rather be cold than hot, but it is really cold. So, to try to offset some of the cold, I partake in that ever-clear elixir known from Toulon to a dry and beyond. Irish whiskey, in particular, Tullamore Dew. Neat.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
It's delicious.
I experienced my first Scotch on the ice a few weeks ago.
How did you just experience your first Scotch, and which Scotch was it?
It was an inexpensive one, and the person I wanted to introduce me to it suggested I have it on ice because it makes it easier for new Scotch drinkers.
Smooths it out, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually, and you know what? It had, for lack of a better word, it had a tobacco taste.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't smoke, so I don't know.
A little bit smoky.
Smoky, tobacco-y, leathery kind of taste.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
So bourbon and Irish and Canadian all tend to lean a little bit to the sweeter side. Mm-hmm. Scotch just goes, nah, mate, fuck your sweetness. I'm just going to throw some smoke in there. If anyone's Scottish, I apologize for that. But it takes all the sweetness out and gives you a ton of different flavors, but it's definitely an acquired taste, and there's some really good ones out there.
I would love to be a educated and experienced Scotch drinker, just so that I can say I know Scotches and I could drink a Scotch.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I don't know. It's one of those weird bucket list things.
Next time, if you're feeling brave, skip the ice and just ask them for a shot of water, and then just put a couple of drops in the Scotch. That's it. Just a couple of drops of water. It helps a ton.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Really opens it up.
Okay.
Similar to the ice, but it doesn't water it down nearly as much.
Oh, okay. I'll just
Mhm.
have to buy some scotch.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Now, with our elixirs in hand, let's talk world smithing. What breakthroughs, techniques, or tips have sparked new life into your world building, story, or lore recently? Derek, what do you have for today's World Smiths workshop?
Well, to fill the time of our little hiatus here over the holidays and your vacation, jealous. Um, I released the first of three nonfiction writing manuals to mild
Yes,
success.
I'm clapping.
I
Yay!
have two more coming in February and March, and I wrote a little short that I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with yet. Um, but that short is what I've been world building on. And as mentioned before, the main issue I'm dealing with is figuring out how to do a post apocalyptic story in a new way so that it doesn't feel overdone. So that was definitely a hurdle. I ended up a couple of times scrapping parts of it because it felt too much like Red Dawn. Um,
Oh, I loved Red Dawn.
I love Red Dawn too. Red Dawn is a classic.
Yep.
Wolverines. So what I ended up doing was using the post-apocalyptic landscape not as a plot point, but as a set piece.
Okay.
So I put it in the background, and the story really has very little to actually do with it, but it's there and it's part of the world and it matters. It's just not center stage. So I
Hmm.
think that's a decent compromise. What about you?
Well, good. On the topic of world building, I've been taking a deep dive into some mores and beliefs in my culture. Um, Mostly because I really couldn't write while away on vacation,
Bullshit.
but I was able to do some reading and listening to a book with some Native American stories. So at least, I've been really absorbing that to see how it affects my story. I'm really hoping to weave some of these things throughout my story in a subtle way. I don't want to smack anybody over the head with it.
Yeah.
Um, just simple things like how children are raised.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that while it doesn't affect my plot, it will affect my characters.
Yeah.
You know why they act a particular way and not other ways. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had to do a bunch of research into like off-grid homesteading type stuff
Hmm.
and caught myself doing like 6 hours of research on how to make soap and how to
For the
how to
win.
how to get salt when you're landlocked and things like that.
Yeah.
Like there's ways to do it, but like knowing how is a completely different matter, and knowing like it might not necessarily be a necessary detail in the story, but knowing it's plausible for someone to have salt, or knowing that the homemade soap, if you make it with wood ash, isn't going to be firm like the soap that we normally have. It's actually going to be kind of soft. Things like that,
Yeah.
it matters. You wouldn't think it matters, but it matters. And it's, yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, um, if you raise your kids in a be back before the streetlights come on sort of way, they're going to turn out differently than if they're helicoptered and taxied everywhere.
Well,
So,
yeah. And one of the things that I found really interesting was that before colonization, um, most, if not all, but all of the tribes, I'm not going to say all because I don't know for sure, but based off of the little bit of research I've done, which is not a little bit, it's extensive. Anyways, let me get to the point. Um, Based off the research I've done, before colonization, Native Americans or indigenous people did not hit their children.
yeah.
It didn't happen. Um, and it only occurred after, colonization that children were hit. Well, the indigenous children were hit by their
Hmm.
parents or by anybody for discipline.
Hmm.
Um, and I want to use this as a stark point in my book, you know, just as a really way to show the difference. I thought it would be pretty. impactful.
Yeah, for sure. As world builders, it is essential to keep our creative skills sharp by exploring other realms and stories. Since our last episode, and we've got some time here, which worlds have you been visiting and through which portal did you enter? Most importantly, what did you take away from it?
As far as diving into other worlds, I have been watching Andromeda. Um, it was conceptualized by oh my gosh, why do I do this on our episodes? I don't know why I don't write down names. But the creator of Star Trek,
Roddenberry?
Roddenberry, thank you, and his wife actually produced it, Margelle. Is that
Yeah.
her?
Well, that's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Um, and I'm in season 3,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still wildly disappointed. I I have no idea why I'm still watching it.
Drop Andromeda
Um,
and go watch Firefly.
I have watched Firefly
It's so
several
good.
times. It is so
Watch it
good,
again.
and um, I think the thing that disappoints me the most about it is that they do use. So this is supposed to be something like 3,000 years or 300 years in the future, 3,000 years, whatever it is, 300 years,
Mm-hmm.
1,000 years in the future. Who knows? It's some wild number out in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And they use a lot of idioms and sayings and stories from our present day.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even use a lot of stories. They don't even talk about the Greek gods or anything like that. It's from our present day. So even their little jokes, and it just takes me out of the story every single time.
Yep.
Um, that's not the only reason why it's disappointing. The biggest reason why it's disappointing is because they have no real goal now. It's season 3. They don't have a real goal. They're just kind of traveling around doing things and reacting. There, there's just,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least in Star Trek, they were visiting new worlds. That was their, that yes, they went out and they were doing things and because they had a mission.
Mm-hmm.
There's no mission at this point, and it's just I'm glad they got rid of one of the characters from the first season. He was annoying, but I still don't know why I'm still watching it. But so I did have I have been getting into the trying to get back in the habit of reading, but it's mostly been nonfiction. I have a bingo goal. So this year, me and my friends, instead of doing resolutions
Mm-hmm.
or doing the vision board for the year, we each of us made a bingo card, and in each one of the slots we put one little thing that we want to accomplish this year.
Oh, okay.
Uh, and so the first one to make bingo gets kudos or a party or whatever from the others. And
Okay.
so one of my bingo goals is to read a certain amount of books this year. Getting back into the habit of consuming stories by reading instead of watching is going to take a little bit of getting used to. It's going to take a little bit of work, but I have been reading some nonfiction, so that's good. So,
Hey,
um,
it's better than nothing.
that's yeah. What about you? What worlds or realms have you been exploring?
Well, I finished Skeleton Crew and actually had a really good time with it. I like how it ended.
Oh, good.
Um, Not entirely sure how they're going to do more of it, but I like how it ended. It took me entirely too long to recognize Jude Law. That's embarrassing, but it was a fantastic show. They did a really good job with it, and it's Star Wars, but it feels different and not in a
Hmm.
bad way like some of the other stuff does. I like it. It's good. I don't really know what else to
Yep.
say about that without spoiling things. Um, and I've been digging into some older movies, Die Hard, Deep Impact, Forrest Gump, stuff like that. Um, just for reasons of they don't make them like they used to.
Hmm.
I mean, they're not particularly older. I think t- 2 out of 3 of those are from the '90s, but um, that's 30 years now, so it's been a while. Um, and I'm still reading. I switched off of Witcher for a hot minute just to let my
Hmm.
brain breathe before I read the last one, and I picked up a fantasy, uh, brain no worky, lit RPG thing. I'm having fun with that. I really enjoy the characters, so that's fun. But it's also a series that I'm familiar with, and I really enjoy the world building of it. It's not particularly pertinent to what I do, but it's every time I read it, it feels fresh, and I appreciate that.
So speaking of, your older movies, Deep Impact, whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
not so much as old as those movies, but you reminded me that the other night while we were on vacation, we watched Interstellar.
Mm-hmm.
Fan friggin' tastic
Oh,
movie.
it's so good.
Fan friggin' tastic. It was glorious. I mean, I just love how you had this deep dive. I mean, this immediate dive into the world.
Mm-hmm.
There was no time spending getting you up to speed. You were just,
You're in it.
in the middle of this dust bowl.
Yeah,
You
it
know.
was great. Um, and fun fact, I don't know if you knew this or not, but they actually that is the most accurate depiction of a black hole ever put in a movie.
Yep, I've read that. Yep.
Yeah, because they actually hired NASA scientists to build the model for that, and it is an
Hmm.
accurate, functioning model of a black hole, and it's freaking amazing.
It was just freaking. It was amazing. Towards the end, there were some things that were a little hokey, but all in all, the story was glorious, and this was one story that I'd like to keep in my back pocket to help me learn
Mm-hmm.
to tell stories better, because they had a thread between the whole thing, which was the father and the son, the father and the daughter bond that just held the story together in a beautiful way.
I watched one not super long ago. It's definitely not nearly as old. It's from 2017. A movie called Life.
Okay.
Um, it's got Ryan Reynolds in it, which is why I watched it in the first place. Um, I love Ryan Reynolds. I like
Hmm.
his snark, and he had his snark. But it reminded me a lot of Alien, just done in a different way. And that
You know, I,
was it was interesting. It was very interesting.
I just watched one of his movies too. We watched another movie of his that was older that we had never heard about. Oh my gosh, it was Guy. No, it was Life of Guy. Was it
Mm-hmm.
Guy? That was no,
Free
it
Guy.
was Free Guy.
Free Guy is
Oh
so
my
good.
gosh, it was so good. I had such a great time watching that movie. That
So
was
many
awesome.
layers of nerd culture are baked into that movie, and I love it.
I caught a few, probably not as many as you would, but man, that was so fun.
I love that movie. I need to watch it again.
Yeah, and Brian and I were just sitting there, go, how come we never heard of this? This is so good. Yeah, it was real good.
So, fun fact: that movie was actually a pretty big inspiration for 10 Levels.
Was it? I was
Yep.
wondering.
Yep.
Yep.
That was one of the inspirations for 10 Levels Down.
It was so good.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things in that is the Chris Evans cameo where he just straight up swears, and Captain America never swears.
Yes,
It
yes,
cracks me
yes.
up.
Yep,
Cracked me
yep,
up
yep.
so much. They
Yeah,
missed
it
an
was great.
opportunity though, and it probably wasn't in the budget, but they missed an opportunity to put Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark in the background going language. It would have been
Yeah.
awesome. They didn't
Yep.
do it. It's okay. It still happens in my head, but I
Yeah.
love that movie. That movie's so good.
That was really good.
If you like that, you should try Ready Player One. It's
You know what? That is on
similar
my list of
and
ones. Yep.
awesome. It's really
That's
good.
one of Yeah, that's one on my books.
It's
Yep.
another deep dive nerd movie, but it's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Also an inspiration for 10 Levels Down. And a really good book too. But
Yeah.
all
I'll
right.
probably have to read I'll probably have to read Interstellar because I'm sure I lost a lot. But
Probably.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Now it's time for World Smith Darlings. Each of us will share a few words that paint a vivid picture of another world. It could be a passage from another author that we admire, or perhaps one that missed the mark, or something we wrote. These might be snippets we're proud of or dead darlings that didn't make the final cut. Ready to dive into some world building wins and woes, Derek?
Sure.
You can go first.
All right. Well, speaking of 10 levels down, that's where this one comes from.
Oh,
How pertinent. Let's see. The inside of Chuck's place was dark and dingy, every surface coated in a greasy film of sweat and drug residue. A few appropriately rough looking characters lounged at tables, and a pair of patrons, a generous term, threw digital darts at a display on the wall.
I love how you read it. It changes the tone a bit. I like that. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Um. Well, I had one in a book I was reading, and I really loved it, and I was gonna bring it. And can I find it now? No.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I can't find. I gotta find a better way to document these when I find them. But anyways, here's one from something of mine. The people above call me Akna. They call me Mother Earth, goddess of creation. But I am not a god. I am Earth. I am the world. I am dirt.
Hmm. I like that.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
it is interesting. Hmm.
All right. Well, now it's time for the main event and our favorite game, World Builders Roulette. Since when does the game have a name? Each week, we place the fate of our worlds in the hands of the D20, letting it choose from our list of wild, speculative, and magical scenarios. Will this week's roll transform our worlds or inspire an entirely new one? Only the dice know, so let's see where they'll lead us.
Again, I'm hoping you have your dice.
I do. I
Oh,
always do.
of course you do. Of course you do.
Let me pull up my list here. All right. Tonight we have a natural 20, which means our question is, what if cities and towns could uproot themselves and migrate based on the needs or desires of their inhabitants?
What if cities and towns could uproot themselves and migrate based on the needs or desires of their inhabitants? Hmm. So that's interesting if you think about, you know, no one in my story is of a nomadic group, but if you could take a nomadic group from, 1,000 years ago
Mm-hmm.
and then give them the technology of, 2025, what would they do with that if they wanted to stay nomadic? So, um, it's kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah, I don't see this applying to the people so much as the literal city.
Hmm. That's what
Um,
I mean. So they
yeah,
build cities, and now they can move the whole city.
this is giving
You
me
know,
Mortal Engines vibes.
don't know that one.
Good book, weird movie. Still worth watching though. I find it interesting. I think it was a Peter Jackson thing
No,
a few
so
years back. But
you got a point about this. This is where the city or the town is um, sentient in itself, right?
yes.
Because it detects when the people that are that live in it, within it, on it,
Mm,
need something else, so it moves itself.
hmm.
Isn't that how we would see this?
Yeah, that's how I'm seeing it.
So we did that episode of what if there were big turtles, right, or big
That
beings,
comes to mind immediately as well.
but that well, so when we were thinking of that story or those stories, the being we were thinking of itself was just mindless of what's living on top of it.
Right.
This is a little bit different. This city is only going to stay alive if
Uh,
it can keep its
I'm
inhabitants healthy.
I'm also getting Baba Yaga vibes with the house on two
Yeah.
legs. Um,
Yep.
I have a lot of weird images in my head right now.
That's good. Spill it. Spill. Spill. That's what this is
So
about.
I see this as, maybe the city was built in a sacred place or something like that, and when the people need something, the city just up and moves. Like there's a drought and they don't have enough water, the city goes where there's water. Or there's some sort of plague or pestilence and the crops won't grow, the city goes where that thing isn't, where the crops will grow, or finds another food source or whatever. Almost like a guardian spirit sort of thing.
Okay, I see. So the um, motivation of this city is simply to keep its inhabitants healthy. In your eye, of your story, what you're saying right now.
Yeah, in my brain that makes sense.
So for my brain, I'm thinking this city, in if its inhabitants die, it dies.
Hmm.
You know, so in order to stay alive, it has to do everything it can to keep its inhabitants alive.
Which is a logical extension of my take on it.
Well, I can almost see your take as like these beings in the way past built a magical whatever so the city could detect that its only goal was to keep the people alive. There was no other reason except for that's how it was programmed.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Whereas I
too,
see.
like part of me sees this. If you look at not necessarily ancient history, but if you look, there's a lot of ruined cities, ruined civilizations that we have no explanation for.
Hmm.
What if the people grew beyond the the sacred guardian or whatever, and something happened and it had to move and they went with it, and that's why what's left of the city just went to ruin.
So that makes me think of what happens if the population gets too big and the population wants to start leaving this city. Does this city do something so the population can't leave? I mean,
And
is
there you just found a logical problem with your symbiotic relationship.
I mean, it just went dark for me. I'm thinking
Excuse me.
if the city kills anybody that goes off the city, the city
I,
entity.
I didn't say it killed them.
I did. That's where my dark brain is going today. I guess my brain's a little
Okay.
dark. I'm
Well, I mean,
thinking
if
that
you
no.
stay in the same place long enough to build a proper city around this thing, it would make sense that not everyone would be able to get on and go
Hmm.
just because of spatial limitations. But maybe they followed.
I mean, does the city grow? The city grows, of course, but does this city being grow? Does it actually get bigger, or is it
I'm
always the
thinking
same
no.
size?
Like, I would assume it's a decent size where, at first, if you have a small population, like there's extra empty space, room for crops, that sort of thing.
I mean, there's so many questions. Does the city want to stay small? Or does it want to grow? Does it need to grow? Does it want to keep the inhabitants to keep itself alive, or just because it's got some kind of mystical goal in itself? Does it actually feel what the citizens feel? Does someone tell it what the citizens need? Or does it just happen to read their minds? How does it know what the citizens need or want? I mean,
Magic.
there's so many ways to do this. I
Oh,
mean, I
I
love
know.
the idea of there's these certain humans that are born that can communicate with the city, right?
Hmm.
And then somebody tries to take over those translators or whatever for the evil means, right? So they tell the city the wrong thing. So the city does the wrong thing. So um ends up killing some of the inhabitants. I don't know. Interesting. So I think this is a story that I could. This is an idea that I can use to create a new story. It won't fit into my world today.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it would fit into mine either, but it is an interesting concept.
It is a very interesting. I mean, I think I could use this in my world that I'm building, but not in the story that I'm building.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Are
Yeah,
you
it
doing the
is.
Googles?
I am doing Googles. I'm making sure I'm thinking of the right movie. Um, yeah, okay. So Mortal Engines is kind of a, I mentioned it before, it's kind of a post apocalyptic version of this concept
Hmm.
where cities have been built on like tank tracks as giant machines that can rove around.
Okay.
And they are driven, but there's basically nothing left in the world. So in order to gain resources and grow and continue to produce needed things and for food and that sort of thing, the cities will essentially chase each other down and eat the other city.
Oh, weird.
It's like a scrapping process where they open up and like all the metal goes through a furnace and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's an interesting concept and it's the same idea in a way, just
Hmm. But the
different.
cities aren't sentient.
The cities are not sentient; they're driven
Yeah.
by people.
Yep. Yep.
It's a vehicle, but they'll consume another city and then use the scrap and the metal and build theirs bigger or stronger or faster or whatever. It's sort of a Mad Max kind of attitude.
So even in the little snippet that I gave today, the dead darling I gave today,
Hmm.
which isn't dead by the way, my Earth is sentient.
Hmm.
I kind of love this idea of a town or a city being sentient. Once you name something, it has power, right?
Oh
So
yeah, for sure.
once you name a place, and is it a place or is it an idea? I mean, would New York City still be New York City if it was in Dallas? I mean, hmm, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you saying that naming something gives it power, that's kind of a Chekhov's gun, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep, same kind of thing. And I actually recently discovered Chekhov's gun, and in thinking about it, it's a very interesting way to foreshadow things that most people don't think about.
Yes,
Hmm.
I agree.
And for the
It
people
is
listening, if you don't know what Chekhov's gun is, go look it up. I'm not explaining it.
ah yes. Um. So that it does irritate me though when I do watch movies and they're showing something pretty prominent
Hmm.
and it gives it away from me now because I've studied this,
Hmm.
right? I'm like, oh, okay, so this is going to be something. What why are they zooming in on her unlocking the lock? This
Right.
is important. This is actually something that is. So sometimes it gives it away for me now.
Aloha Mora.
Yeah. So sometimes it gives away the twist too soon, or I'm like, ugh, okay, I know what's going to happen next because they did that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's a struggle too. Like you can foreshadow too much.
Hmm.
A little bit goes a long way. Kind of like whiskey.
And maybe Scotch one day.
Hmm. And I poured a double. That
All right. Well, that was fun.
was fun.
Are you a world builder crafting your first universe or a seasoned creator with realms under your belt? Whether you be a D&D game master, a writer, an author, or simply a storyteller, we'd love for all the wordsmiths to join us on the What If South is Up podcast. Head to whatifsouthisup.com or reach out on our Facebook page to send us your pitch. We'd be honored to make your world a star of an episode or two or three or a dozen.
We'd love your help too. Our what if list is always open for new imaginative scenarios. If you've got a unique twist or world shaking idea, send it our way and we'll give you full credit. After all, who wouldn't love a free plug for their made up world? Visit our Facebook page or drop us a line at whysouthisup@gmail.com. We cannot wait to see what you dream up.
So, Derek, where can folks find you on these interwebs?
My website is derrickhallauthor.com, but you can also find me as dhallauthor just about anywhere.
My website is uniquelyxtina.com, but I can be found on all the socials as uniquelyxtina. I'm mostly active on Facebook, and TikTok's not dead, so I'm still there.
It's unfortunate.
All right, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next time.
Catch you next time. Bye-bye. See you later, alligator.
So long. Farewell. Auf
Da 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 da.